The Unbecoming. It began not with a bang, but with a smudge. In our small, isolated town, the dread didn't arrive like a storm. It crept in like a rising tide. At first, it was just the fleeting glimpses, the trick of the light in an alleyway or a reflection in a shop window that didn't quite match the person standing before it. We saw figures. They wore our clothes and walked our streets, but their heads were nothing more than smooth, featureless spheres of pale skin. No eyes to weep, no mouths to scream. We called it mass hysteria. We told ourselves the isolation was finally getting to us. We laughed about the eggmen over coffee, ignoring the way our hands shook as we lifted our mugs. But the laughter didn't last long, because soon, the things we touched began to fail us. It started with small objects. A set of keys left on a counter would simply cease. Not lost, but gone, as if the space they occupied had been edited out of reality. Then, the erosion turned inward. It moved from our pockets to our minds. You would wake up and realize the name of your childhood dog had vanished. You'd look at your wedding album and see your spouse standing there, but their face would be a blur of flesh-colored static. The horror wasn't in the losing, it was in the forgetting that you had ever possessed it. We were being hollowed out, one memory at a time. The faceless entities were no longer just watching from the shadows. They were standing in our hallways, sitting at the foot of our beds, silent and patient, waiting for our identities to dissolve. By the third week, the town fell into a terrifying silence. You could walk down Main Street and pass a neighbor, only to realize their nose had smoothed over or their ears had retreated into their skull. They would look at you with a blank, skin-covered stare, and you would see the same terrifying transition beginning in your own reflection. We realized then that they weren't invaders, they were collectors. They were gathering the details that made us human. The curve of a lip, the spark of an iris, the very essence of self. And they were folding those details into their own void. Every person they claimed became another silent, featureless sentinel walking the streets. The scream you wanted to let out would die in your throat because your throat was closing, the skin knitting together into a seamless, perfect, horrific whole. Now the sun rises over a town that no longer exists in any ledger. The houses are shells. The people are mannequins of warm flesh. There are no names left here, no stories, no grief. There is only the smooth, quiet perfection of the unbecoming. As I speak these words, I can feel the texture of my own voice thinning. I look at my hands and see the lines of my palms fading away like ripples on a still pond. Soon, there will be no I. There will only be the silence, and the face that is no longer a face, staring into a world that has forgotten we were ever here.